I never thought my engagement party would end up being the line in the sand, the thing that finally exposed just how deep my family's favoritism ran. But that's exactly what happened. I'm Luna, I'm 32, and 4 weeks before what was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life, everything exploded. I'd been with my fiancé Andrew for 5 years, and when I say this man is my rock, I mean it. He's calm, steady, and supportive in a way I honestly didn't know was possible after growing up constantly being compared to my younger sister Levana. We'd been planning the engagement party for months, every flower, every bite of food, the playlist, the guest list. Andrew even helped me design the invitations. It wasn't just a party to me, it was a celebration of surviving all the years of being pushed aside, of finally being seen. And for once, I was genuinely excited. I'd never been the center of attention in my family, and this was finally my moment. Then, out of nowhere, my mom called. And when I say she dropped a bomb, I'm not exaggerating. Her voice was all casual, like she was asking me to pick up milk. "Luna, cancel the engagement party," she said. Just like that. No explanation, no lead-in. I was so shocked I nearly dropped the phone. "What? Mom, are you serious?" I asked, thinking maybe this was some kind of sick joke. "Nope. Dead serious." She told me Levana had just gotten a big promotion at work and they were throwing a party for her. On the same day as my engagement party. "It's just a different party, the same guests," she said. "Just reschedule yours." Like I was supposed to step aside, again, like I had 1,000 times before. And the thing is, if this had happened when I was 16 or 22 or even 28, maybe I would have done it. Maybe I would have said, "Okay, sure," and shoved my own happiness into a drawer just to avoid rocking the boat. But not this time. I'm marrying someone who actually puts me first. I'm building a life that's mine. So I told her no. And you'd think I told her I was eloping with a serial killer. She lost it, full volume meltdown, accusing me of being selfish and immature and inconsiderate to my sister's big day. I hung up. I was shaking. And honestly, I should have seen it coming. This was just another chapter in a lifetime of being the backup plan. But this time I wasn't going to let it slide. Not anymore. The thing about that phone call from my mom is, it didn't just ruin my day. It cracked open a vault of memories I thought I'd buried. 1 second I was finalizing cupcake flavors and playlist orders, and the next, I was staring at my phone in disbelief as my mom told me, without a hint of shame, to cancel my engagement party. "Levana just got promoted," she said, like that explained everything. And I knew what was coming next, before she even said it. "We're going to throw a party for her. It's on the same day. Just reschedule yours." That was it. No apology. No concern. Just this expectation that, as always, I'd step aside so Princess Levana could shine. I wish I could say I was surprised. But honestly, it felt like déjà vu. Growing up, Levana always came first. She got the bigger birthday parties, the louder praise, the softer landings. And me? I got forgotten birthdays, backhanded compliments, and endless comparisons. The year she turned 17, they threw her a 5-day party that could have passed for a mini wedding. When I turned 20, they forgot entirely. Only remembered when Grandma called to say happy birthday. I got a store-bought cake and a $20 gift card. That's the kind of love I grew up with. So when my mom dropped that bomb, something in me snapped. I said no. Like, flat out no. "I'm not canceling it," I told her, trying so hard to keep my voice even. "I've been planning this for months. I'm not changing everything because Levana got a promotion." That's when she really lost it. Full-blown rage. Accused me of being selfish, of not supporting the family, of making everything about me. And let me just say, there is nothing more ironic than being told you're selfish by the person demanding you give up your once-in-a-lifetime event to boost your sister's ego. I hung up mid-rant. I couldn't take it. My ears were ringing and my hands were shaking. Andrew walked in just as I was about to scream into a pillow. And one look at me was all he needed. I broke down and told him everything, my mom's call, her demand, the meltdown. He didn't interrupt. Just listened, jaw tightening more with every word. "That's insane," he finally said. "We're not canceling anything." And I nodded, tears still fresh, because I knew he meant it, but that phone call? That moment? It was the first time I truly stood up to my mother, and the first time I realized how much I'd been conditioned to believe that Levana's happiness mattered more than mine. Not anymore. Not this time. I wasn't the side character in my own story. This was my moment. And I was done being quiet. Just when I thought the drama had peaked, my phone buzzed with a message that made my stomach drop. It was from my cousin AA, one of the few relatives I actually trusted. "Hey Luna, everything okay with you and Andrew? I heard you guys broke up." I blinked at the screen, completely confused. What? Andrew and I had just finalized the catering and were picking out table linens last night. I immediately texted back, "What? No. We're totally fine." "Who told you that?" Her reply hit harder than I expected. "Weird. Aunt Olivia said your mom told her the engagement was off." I swear I could feel my heart actually sink. Like that physical, drop in your chest kind of dread. I called AA instantly. And when she picked up, I asked her straight up what was going on. That's when she dropped the bomb. My mom had gone behind my back and called every single guest on the invite list. Told them I had gotten into a massive fight with Andrew and called the whole thing off. But she didn't stop there, oh no. She also encouraged everyone to attend Levana's promotion party instead. Like it was some effortless, casual swap. Like my engagement didn't matter. I sat there frozen for a full minute. My mom hadn't just crossed the line, she'd leapt over it, danced on the ashes, and set fire to whatever was left. She didn't just want to share the spotlight, she wanted to erase me entirely. When Andrew got home and saw my face, he dropped everything. I told him what AA said, how mom had twisted the whole story, and his reaction was instant and furious. "That's it," he snapped. "We're cutting them off. Your mom, your dad, Levana, all of them." And honestly? A big part of me agreed. But another part was terrified. Because even after everything, they were still my family. I wasn't ready to go no contact. Not yet. "Let's fix this first," I said. "Then we'll figure out what comes next." So we kicked into full-blown crisis mode. Emails, texts, DMs, Facebook updates, anything and everything to let people know the truth. The engagement party was not cancelled. We were still together. Very much in love. And very much still throwing that party. I even wrote a long, awkward message explaining what happened without airing all the dirty family laundry. It was exhausting. Andrew handled half the guest list, I did the other half. We were on the phone till after midnight, my voice hoarse, my brain spinning, but slowly, people started replying. "Thanks for clearing that up. We'll be there. Sorry for the confusion." And that small wave of support? It kept me from collapsing completely. Still, the damage was done. And deep down, I knew, this wasn't just a petty misunderstanding. This was my mother actively trying to sabotage me. And if she was willing to lie like that, what else was she capable of? I thought I was done being surprised. But this family has a way of twisting the knife just when you think it can't go any deeper. A few days after damage control, I decided to visit my Aunt Talia, my dad's sister, someone I thought had always been kind to me. I figured I'd clear up the confusion in person, maybe salvage a tiny bit of dignity. But the second I stepped up to the door, I heard voices inside. I paused. And that's when I heard my name, followed by words that made my stomach turn. "I can't believe Luna would do such a thing," Aunt Talia said. "Canceling her own engagement party just to spite Levana? So childish." And then came Lyra's voice, my cousin, the one I thought was on my side. "I know, right? Poor Levana. She worked so hard for that promotion, and Luna's just trying to steal her thunder. I swear, something cracked in me. I felt my face burn, not from shame, but from the sheer audacity. I walked in, calm but shaking. "Is that really what you think of me?" I asked. They both jumped like I'd materialized out of nowhere. Aunt Talia plastered on a fake smile. "Luna, sweetie. We didn't hear you come in." "Obviously," I replied, my voice cold. "I came to invite you to the engagement party. But I guess you've already made up your minds." Lyra looked guilty at least. "We didn't mean, save it," I cut her off. "Just tell me. What exactly did Mom say?" And for the next hour, I sat there and listened as they laid out the insane story my mother had crafted. According to her, I'd thrown a tantrum over Levana's promotion, demanded the whole thing be cancelled, and then decided to call off my engagement out of spite. Oh, and apparently I was too dramatic to be trusted with family events. By the end, I was shaking with rage. "None of that is true," I said, voice barely steady. "Mom told me to cancel my engagement party for Levana's promotion." I refused. "So she lied to all of you?" They looked stunned, and maybe, a little remorseful. Aunt Talia apologized. Lyra mumbled something. I didn't care. "Please help me fix this. I don't want anyone else falling for her lies." But the real showdown came later, when I showed up at my parents' house. I hadn't planned on confronting them, but I needed answers. And closure. Levana was there too, arms crossed, face like stone. "You had your party," she snapped. "You could have supported mine." My mom jumped in, voice sharp. "Family should come first, Luna. If you can't understand that, maybe you don't belong here." And that was it. The switch flipped. So family only matters when it's about Levana? I've spent my whole life being pushed aside. But I'm done. I'm done trying to prove I'm worth loving. My dad stood there, silent. Wouldn't even look at me. So I walked out. No screaming. No drama. Just done. I didn't plan on making a big scene. Honestly, part of me still hoped that maybe they'd hear me out, that maybe my mom would look me in the eye and say, "I'm sorry." But that hope died fast. I was standing there in the living room, staring at my sister and my parents like I didn't even recognize them. I had just told them how much they'd hurt me, how I'd spent my whole life trying to be good enough, and my mom's response. "If you can't support your sister's moment, maybe you don't belong here." I felt like someone slapped me across the face. And my dad? He stood there in the corner, arms crossed, eyes down, just quiet. Like usual, that's when it hit me like a punch to the gut. I could say all the right things, explain everything, cry in front of them, and it still wouldn't matter. I'd always be the one expected to shrink so Levana could shine. Always the background character in my own life. So I took a breath, looked at all three of them, and said the words I'd been too scared to say for 32 years, "Fine. Maybe I don't belong here. I've done everything I could to make you proud, to feel like I was part of this family. But no matter what I do, it's never enough. So I'm done. I'm done begging for love that should have been given freely." And with that, I left. No shouting, no slamming doors. Just quiet heartbreak. Later that night, I called my grandma. She's always been my safe place, the one person who's never made me feel small. When she picked up, I couldn't even talk at first, I just cried. Ugly, shoulder-shaking sobs. And she let me. She didn't rush me, didn't try to fix it. Just let me fall apart. When I finally got the words out, told her everything, about the party, the lies, the confrontation, she was silent for a moment. Then she said, with more love in her voice than I'd felt in years, "Oh, Luna. I know you did your best. But some people are too wrapped up in themselves to see what's right in front of them. You deserve to be happy, baby. And you have people who do see you. Who love you just the way you are." That was it. That's what I needed. Not flashy apologies or dramatic turnarounds. Just truth. And hearing it from someone who never tried to make me compete for affection, it healed something in me. In that moment, I realized I didn't need my mom's validation. Or Levana's approval. Or my dad's silent loyalty to everyone but me. I had Andrew. I had Grandma. I had friends who showed up when it mattered. That's what family is. And for the first time, I felt free. I wasn't actively rooting for Levana's downfall, I swear I wasn't. But when karma finally came knocking, I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a tiny flicker of satisfaction. After everything, the lies, the manipulation, the way she let our mom sabotage my engagement party without saying a word, she carried on like she'd won. She smiled in every photo at her little promotion party like she hadn't steamrolled over her own sister's once-in-a-lifetime moment. But you can only live that fake for so long before it starts catching up to you. It started subtly. Little things. Missed deadlines. Rushed reports. Snippy emails. I wasn't looking for it, I wasn't even in the loop anymore. But one afternoon, I got a call from AA, the same cousin who helped me clean up the party mess. And she sounded gleeful. "Luna, you're not going to believe this," she said, barely containing herself. "Levana's been put on probation at work." I blinked. Wait, what? AA went on to explain that a friend of hers worked at Levana's company. Apparently, Levana's been so distracted lately, always on her phone, whispering behind people's backs, fixated on drama. You know, instead of doing her actual job. The higher-ups had noticed. And when one of her team leads caught her gossiping in a meeting again, that was it. Official write-up. Then probation. One more slip, and she'd be out. And look, I didn't throw a party or pop champagne or anything. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel some kind of poetic justice in it. The same promotion that had blown my family apart was now slipping right through her fingers. Her need to always be the star, to be the center of attention at any cost, it was eating her alive, but honestly? The overwhelming emotion I felt wasn't joy. It was sadness. Because it didn't have to be like this. If she'd just been happy for me, if our parents had just treated us like equals, this whole thing could have been a memory we both cherished. Instead, she let her bitterness consume her, and now it was unraveling the life she worked so hard for. I didn't reach out. I didn't say a word. I just took it as a sign that I was on the right path, my path. The one where I didn't have to compete for scraps of love or validation. The one where I focused on my future with Andrew and let the toxicity stay behind me where it belonged. Levana made her choice. She picked sabotage over sisterhood. And now she was finally feeling the consequences. After everything that happened, the lies, the sabotage, the screaming matches, I should have been a wreck. But weirdly, I wasn't. Because once the dust settled, I finally had something I hadn't felt in years, clarity. For the first time, I stopped trying to force myself into a family that never really made space for me. And I started leaning into the people who actually showed up when it counted. And let me just say, Andrew's family? They were the emotional warm blanket I didn't know I needed. His mom invited me over for a girls' day, complete with tea, foot soaks, and the fluffiest robes I've ever worn in my life. His dad kept calling me kiddo and bragging to their neighbors about our engagement like I was his daughter. They didn't ask me for explanations or make me relive the drama, they just made me feel welcome. No games. No guilt. I remember sitting with Andrew on the couch a few nights later, scrolling through the wedding guest list. We were surrounded by sticky notes, Pinterest boards, and 3 kinds of snacks because yes, we're those people. He handed me the pen and said, "Who's next?" I looked down at the list and felt my chest tighten. 4 blank spaces. Mom. Dad. Levana. My hand hovered over the paper, pen frozen. "I don't think I can invite them," I whispered. "Not after everything. Not after how they made me feel like I was nothing." Andrew didn't say anything right away. He just put his hand over mine, grounding me like he always does. "It's your day, Luna. They don't get to ruin this one too. Whatever you decide, I've got your back." And just like that, I put the pen down. "No," I said, my voice firmer than I expected. "They don't deserve to be there. This day is about love. About real support. And that's never been them." Saying it out loud was like exhaling a breath I'd been holding since I was 12. I could have invited them out of guilt. I could have let them back in to keep the peace. But the truth? I was done bending to make other people comfortable. I was done hurting myself just to avoid hurting them. This wedding wasn't just about marrying Andrew, it was about choosing the life I wanted, the family I wanted. So I left their names off the list. And for the first time in a long time, I felt peace. Not sadness. Not anger. Just peace. The morning of my wedding, I stood in front of the mirror in the bridal suite, adjusting my veil with shaky hands and a full heart. For a second, I just stared at myself. Not because I wanted to admire the dress, or the makeup, or the curls that took 2 hours to get right, but because the woman looking back at me wasn't the same one who used to shrink herself to fit into a family that never made room. She wasn't begging for approval. She wasn't waiting to be chosen. She was chosen. By herself. By the man standing at the end of the aisle. And by every single soul in that garden who showed up for love. The venue was like something out of a dream, an open garden lined with fairy lights and a white gazebo covered in flowers. But what made it beautiful wasn't the decorations or the perfect weather, it was the people. Andrew's parents were front row, beaming like they'd known me forever. My grandma clutched a handkerchief in one hand and waved at me with the other, eyes glistening. Our friends, our real chosen family, filled the space with nothing but joy. And as I walked down that aisle, all the old weight started to fall away. The years of being second best. The silent treatment from my dad. The guilt trips. The manipulation. The toxic loyalty tests I always failed because I dared to want something for myself. All of it faded with every step. Andrew looked at me like I was his entire world. And I believed it. Because he'd seen the ugliest sides of my pain and never once flinched. He held my hand through the chaos. He never told me to just forgive and forget or she's still your mom. He told me I mattered. Every time, when we exchanged vows, I didn't cry out of sadness, I cried out of release. Out of gratitude. Out of joy so pure it made me feel like I could float. And when we kissed and the crowd erupted in applause, it wasn't just a celebration of our marriage, it was the closing of a chapter I'd been stuck in for too long. Later at the reception, while we danced under twinkling lights and laughed until our cheeks hurt, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, safe. Safe to be loved. Safe to be me. No walking on eggshells. No pretending. Just love. Real, warm, unconditional love. As the night ended, I looked around the room at the people who chose me. Who showed up not out of obligation, but out of love. And I knew right then, I didn't need the people who couldn't be happy for me. I had my true family now. Andrew. Grandma. Our friends. A future filled with peace. Laughter, and no more proving my worth. This wasn't just a wedding. It was my rebirth. And I was finally free. Looking back, I've learned that love shouldn't have to be earned, it should be given freely. I spent years chasing approval from people who never saw my worth, and it nearly stole my joy. But choosing peace over guilt changed everything. If you're in a place where you're always made to feel less than, my advice is this: stop shrinking to fit into spaces that don't value you. Build your own. Have you ever felt overlooked by your own family? Have you had to choose yourself over toxic ties? I'd love to hear your story. Thank you so much for listening to mine.